Welcome to my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much.
I am Joshua, 36 years old, and tonight my brother handed me a mop bucket application in front of my 12-year-old daughter. Before I tell you about the moment I shattered his entire world and watched his face turn the color of ash, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. It started like every other Sunday dinner at my parents' house in the suburbs of Chicago. A ritual of humiliation disguised as family bonding. I pulled my 10-year-old Honda Civic up to the curb, parking 3 houses down. I did this partly because the starter motor makes a grinding noise that sounds like a dying cat, but mostly because I didn't want my car seen next to Caleb's brand new leased BMW X5. My daughter, Lily, unbuckled her seatbelt. She looked at me with those big, intelligent eyes that notice way too much for a 12-year-old. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Her hands were small, but her grip was strong. Distinct smell of pot roast and judgment hit me the second I opened the front door. My mother, Susan, was in the kitchen. She didn't turn around when we walked in. She just shouted over the noise of the oven fan. "Wipe your feet, Joshua. We just had the carpets professionally cleaned. Caleb paid for it." "Hi, Mom. Good to see you too," I said, my voice flat. I wiped my boots on the mat until I was sure not a speck of dust remained. It wouldn't matter. I was the dirt they couldn't scrub out. We moved into the dining room. My father, Robert, was sitting at the head of the table, nursing a scotch. He didn't offer me one. He barely looked up from his tablet. But when Caleb walked in from the patio, the whole room seemed to brighten. Caleb is 4 years older than me. He's the golden boy. He works as a supply chain manager for Apex Parts, a massive distribution company. To my parents, he is the second coming of Elon Musk. To me, he's the guy who used to steal money from Mom's purse and blame it on me. "Josh," Caleb boomed, slapping me on the back hard enough to sting. "Glad you made it. I wasn't sure if that heap of junk you drive would survive the trip." "It runs fine, Caleb," I said, pulling out a chair for Lily. "Runs fine? It sounds like a lawnmower having a panic attack." Caleb laughed. My parents joined in, a chorus of chuckles that felt like sandpaper on my skin. We sat down. The table was set with the good china, the plates we were never allowed to touch as kids. Clearly, this dinner was a celebration for Caleb. It always was. So, my father started, slicing into the roast beef. "Caleb tells us he's in line for another promotion. Director of Operations." "It's practically a done deal, Dad," Caleb said, winking at his wife, Elena. Elena smirked, taking a sip of red wine. She looked at me with pity, the kind of look you give a stray dog you have no intention of feeding. "The current director is retiring next month. The CEO, Mr. Sterling, practically told me the office is mine." "That's incredible, son." My mother beamed. She looked at him with an adoration she had never, not once, directed at me. "You've worked so hard. You deserve every penny of that salary." "It's a significant bump," Caleb said, feigning modesty. "We're thinking of upgrading the house. Maybe a place with a pool for Braden." Braden, Caleb's son, was sitting across from Lily playing on a Nintendo Switch at full volume. Nobody told him to turn it down. "That's wonderful," I said, trying to be civil. "Congratulations, Caleb." Caleb stopped chewing. He turned his head slowly to look at me. The air in the room grew heavy. "Thanks, Josh. But honestly, hearing congratulations from you feels a bit rich." "Excuse me?" I asked. "Well," Caleb wiped his mouth with a linen napkin. "I'm out here securing my family's future, building a legacy. And you, well, what have you done this year, Josh? Still consulting?" He used air quotes around the word consulting. "I'm doing fine, Caleb. We have everything we need." "Do you?" Elena chimed in. Her voice was high and sharp. "Because Lily's sneakers look like they've been through a war zone. And I heard from a friend that you're behind on the PDA fees." My grip on my fork tightened. My knuckles turned white. "Lily likes those sneakers. and the fees are paid. It's not just the fees, Joshua, my father grumbled. It's the lack of stability. You're 36. When I was your age, I had a mortgage, a pension plan, and a savings account. You're floating. It's embarrassing. I'm not floating, Dad. I'm building something. Building what? My mother snapped. Debt? Disappointment. Lily shrank in her seat. She dropped her fork, the metal clanging against the china. I'm not hungry, she whispered. Eat, Lily, I said softly. It's okay. No, it's not okay, Caleb interrupted. He reached under his chair and pulled out a briefcase. He set it on the table, pushing aside the bowl of mashed potatoes. The click of the latches opening echoed in the silent room. He pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was folded in thirds. He slid it across the mahogany table toward me. It stopped right next to my water glass. I'm just worried about you and Jordan. Sorry, I mean Lily, Caleb said. He didn't even care enough to remember my daughter's name correctly. You can't keep going like this, living hand to mouth, pretending to be some entrepreneur while your daughter suffers. I looked down at the paper. At the top, in bold letters, it read, Apex Parts, Facilities Maintenance Application. Below that, in the job description section, it listed duties. Restroom sanitation, floor mopping, waste removal, break room cleanup. It's a janitor position, Josh, Caleb said, his voice dripping with fake concern. It's entry-level, obviously, but it comes with benefits. Dental, vision. You could finally get Lily's teeth fixed. There was nothing wrong with Lily's teeth. You want me to clean toilets at your company? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. I'm offering you a lifeline. Caleb threw his hands up. The pay is $18 an hour. That's steady money. Better than whatever imaginary clients you have. My mother leaned in, nodding aggressively. Take it, Joshua. Don't be too proud. It's honest work. Maybe you can finally start contributing to a college fund instead of expecting us to bail you out when you crash. Bail me out. I looked at her. I haven't asked you for a dime in 8 years. Only because you know the answer would be no, my father muttered. She's right. You're pretty useless as a provider. At least this way you'd have a uniform. Yeah, really useless, my mother echoed. I looked around the table. My parents were sneering. Elena was suppressing a giggle behind her wine glass. Caleb looked like a king bestowing crumbs upon a peasant. Then I looked at Lily. Her face was flushed bright red. She was staring at her lap. To understand why I didn't flip the table right then and there, you have to understand the history. You have to understand the cold, hard knot of grief and resentment that had been sitting in my stomach for 8 years. Growing up, it was always Caleb. Caleb the football star. Caleb the honor student. I was just Joshua, the quiet one. The one who liked computers and logistics and numbers. My parents didn't understand numbers, so they didn't understand me. But the real break happened 8 years ago. I was 28. I had just lost my wife, Sarah, to a sudden aneurysm. 1 minute she was laughing at a TV show, and the next she was gone. Lily was 4 years old. I was a broken man. I was working a mid-level dispatch job that barely covered rent, and suddenly I was a single father with a funeral to pay for. I didn't have life insurance on Sarah. We were young, we thought we had time. I was short $5,000 for the burial expenses. I went to my parents. I sat in this exact living room, my eyes swollen from crying, holding a 4-year-old Lily who kept asking where Mommy was. We can't help you, Joshua, my father had said, not even looking up from his newspaper. Dad, please, I begged. It's for Sarah. I just need to bury her with dignity. I'll pay you back. I'll sign a contract. Anything. Our liquid assets are tied up, my mother explained, sipping her tea. We just helped Caleb put a down payment on his condo. We can't extend ourselves any further. Caleb makes 3 times what I make. I cried out. He doesn't need help. I need to bury my wife. Lower your voice, my father snapped. Financial irresponsibility is not our problem to solve. Maybe if you had worked harder, you'd have savings. Ask the state for help. They have programs for people like you, people like me, the poor, the failures. I left that day and never asked them for another cent. I sold my car. I sold my wedding ring. I took out predatory loans. I buried my wife, and I promised Lily that night, as she slept in a bed we might lose, that I would never, ever be helpless again. That anger became my fuel. I didn't sleep for 3 years. I worked my dispatch job during the day, and at night I taught myself everything there was to know about global logistics and supply chain algorithms. I saw inefficiencies that big companies like Apex Parts were too bloated to notice. I started a small consulting firm from my kitchen table. I called it Titanium Logistics. For the first 2 years, it was just me and a laptop. I ate ramen so Lily could have fresh fruit. I wore clothes from Goodwill so Lily could have new school uniforms. Then I landed a contract with a mid-sized shipping firm. My algorithm saved them $2 million in 6 months. Word got out. Then came the crypto boom. I wasn't a gambler, but I understood patterns. I took my first big commission check, $50,000, and invested it in a specific blockchain project I had been researching. 3 months later, that $50,000 turned into $4 million. Most people would have bought a Ferrari. I didn't. I reinvested 90% of it back into Titanium Logistics. I bought warehouses. I bought trucks. I hired the best minds in the industry. By the time I was 35, Titanium Logistics was a ghost giant. We didn't have a flashy headquarters. We were the back-end infrastructure for half the e-commerce shipping in the Midwest. My personal net worth had crossed into the 8 figures, but I kept it a secret, especially from my family. Why? Because I knew them. I knew if they found out, the people like you comments would stop, and the hands would come out. They would want loans. They would want investments. They would try to take credit for my success. I wanted to know if they could ever love me without the money. I wanted to see if they would ever treat me with respect just because I was their son, not because I was a bank. For 8 years, I drove that beat-up Honda. I wore jeans and flannel shirts. I let them believe I was scraping by as a freelancer. And for 8 years, they treated me like dirt. Which brings us back to the dinner table. While Caleb was glaring at me, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I knew who it was without looking. It was Mason, my attorney and the only person outside of my company who knew the full extent of my wealth. I slid my phone out under the table. Message from Mason. The ink is dry. The acquisition is official as of 5 p.m. today. You now own 51% of Apex Parts. Do you want to issue the press release? I stared at the screen. The timing was almost poetic. Apex Parts. Caleb's company. The company where he was a mid-level manager acting like a god. The company where he just tried to hire me as a janitor. I had been buying up stock for 6 months. Not out of revenge, originally. Apex was a good company with terrible leadership. It was a smart investment. But as Caleb's arrogance grew over the months, the purchase became personal. I typed back, "Hold the press release. I'm going to deliver the news in person." I looked up. Caleb was still ranting. "You think you're too good to clean floors, Josh? That's your problem. No humility. You think the world owes you a living because your wife died." The room went cold. Even my mother looked shocked. "Caleb," she whispered, "that's a bit much." "No, it's the truth." Caleb slammed his hand on the table. "He plays the victim card. Oh, poor me. I'm a widower. It's been 8 years. Get over it and get a job." That was the second snap. The final one. I looked at Lily. She was crying openly now, shaking. I put my hand on her shoulder. "It's okay, baby. We're leaving soon." "Not until you take that application," my father said, pointing a shaking finger at me. "I will not have a son of mine living on welfare while his brother offers him a career." "I don't live on welfare, Dad," I said, my voice rising. "And Caleb isn't offering me a career. He's offering me a humiliation." "Same difference to a beggar," Elena laughed. I stood up. I didn't rush. I stood up slowly, straightening my flannel shirt. I looked at the man I had called brother for 36 years. I looked at the parents who had abandoned me in my darkest hour. You're right, Caleb, I said. I do need to get over it. I need to get over the idea that you people are my family. Sit down, Joshua, my father barked. No, I said. I think I'll stand. And Caleb, about that assistant I mentioned? His name is Adrian. He used to be the VP of Logistics at Amazon. I hired him last year. He handles my schedule now. Caleb scoffed. You hired a VP from Amazon? With what money? Did you find a winning lottery ticket in the gutter? No, I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I hired him with the profits from my company. Titanium Logistics. Caleb froze. The name registered. Everyone in the industry knew Titanium. We were the disruptors. We were the ones eating Apex Parts market share for lunch. You know Titanium? Caleb stammered. You work for them? Are you a driver? I don't drive the trucks, Caleb, I said, reaching for my phone. I own them. Silence is a funny thing. There's the silence of peace. And then there's the silence of a bomb that has landed but hasn't exploded yet. This was the second kind. You own them, Caleb repeated, his voice cracking. You own Titanium Logistics? Founder and CEO, I clarified. We did $140 million in revenue last year. But who's counting? Bullshit. My father spat. Absolute bullshit. You're lying, Joshua. You always were a liar. Remember when you said you didn't steal that money from your mother's purse? I didn't steal it, Dad. Caleb did. Just like he's stealing from Apex Parts right now. The accusation hung in the air. Caleb's face went from pale to purple. He jumped up, knocking his chair over. You little punk. You come into my house, disrespect my job, lie about being a millionaire, and now you accuse me of theft. He lunged for me. He grabbed the collar of my flannel shirt. Apologize, he screamed, spitting in my face. Apologize to your mother and me for being a disappointment. And take that damn job application. Get your hands off me, I said calmly. Or what? You'll cry. Caleb shook me. Hey, Lily screamed. She jumped up and shoved Caleb. She was 12 and he was a grown man, but she shoved him with everything she had. Leave my dad alone. Caleb stumbled back, shocked. Then he turned on her. You little brat. No wonder you have no manners. Raising yourself while your dad plays pretend. My mother stood up. Lily, sit down and be quiet. This is adult talk. No, Lily yelled back, tears streaming down her face but her chin held high. You're all mean. You're terrible people. My dad is the best person I know. He works harder than all of you. He buys people groceries when they can't pay. He donates to the shelter. You don't know anything about him. He's a loser, honey, Elena sneered. And he's teaching you to be a loser too. That was it. The beast was out of the cage. I didn't punch Caleb. I wanted to. God, I wanted to shatter his jaw. But I had something much more painful in mind. I pulled his hands off my collar. I brushed myself off. You want proof? I asked. You want to see what I've been doing while you were building a legacy? I held up my phone. Dad, turn on the TV. The big one. I'm not turning on anything for you, my father said. Fine. I'll do it myself. I tapped the cast icon on my phone. I synced it to the massive 85-inch Samsung TV mounted on the dining room wall. Another gift Caleb had bragged about buying. The screen flickered to life. It mirrored my phone screen. What is this? Mom squinted. Is that a bank statement? No, I said. This is the corporate organizational chart for Apex Parts. Your company, Caleb. On the screen, a complex tree of names and titles appeared. At the top was the CEO, Sterling. Below him, the VPs. Then the directors. I know the org chart, Caleb sneered, though he looked nervous. So what? You Googled my company? Look closer, I said. I zoomed in on the supply chain department. There was Caleb's name, Caleb Miller, regional manager. Now, I said, let's look at the ownership structure. I swiped to the next slide. It was a legal document, a stock purchase agreement. Buyer, Titanium Holdings LLC, signatory, Joshua Miller, target. Apex Parts Incorporated shares acquired, 51.4% date. Today, you see that signature? I pointed to the screen. That's me. Caleb squinted. He read it. He read it again. His knees seemed to give out, and he leaned heavily on the table. No, he whispered. That's impossible. Titanium that's a massive conglomerate. You drive a Civic. I drive a Civic because I don't need a BMW to prove I'm a man, I said. And yes, I bought the majority stake in Apex Parts this morning. Which means, Caleb, as of 5 hours ago, I am your boss's boss. This is a prank, Elena said, her voice trembling. He photoshopped it. Look at him. Look at his shoes. He's broke. Am I? I tapped my phone again. Let's check your work email, Caleb. Since I own the servers now, I have admin access. You can't do that. That's illegal, Caleb shrieked. He lunged for the remote to turn off the TV, but I blocked him. It's not illegal. It's a company audit, I said, cold as ice. I pulled up a folder labeled Invoices Vendor B. You've been routing shipping contracts to a shell company called Rapid Route, haven't you, Caleb? I asked, charging Apex 20% above market rate and pocketing the difference. I've been tracking the discrepancies for months. I just didn't know it was you until I bought the place. The screen showed a series of emails between Caleb and a dummy account, discussing how to hide the kickbacks. That's not what it looks like, Caleb stammered. Sweat was pouring down his forehead now. My father stood up, his face gray. Caleb? What is this? You said you were being promoted for performance. I am, Caleb yelled. Joshua is hacking me. He's faking it. I'm not hacking you, Caleb. I'm firing you. The words hung there. I'm firing you. You can't fire me, Caleb laughed nervously. Mr. Sterling loves me. He won't let you. Mr. Sterling works for me now, I said. And speaking of Sterling, my phone rang. The caller ID on the big screen flashed. Warren Sterling, CEO. I looked at Caleb. You want to answer that? Or should I? The ringing of the phone was deafening in the silent dining room. Ring, ring, ring. Caleb looked at the screen like it was a rattlesnake. He didn't move. Answer it, Caleb, I said softly. Tell him about the janitor job. Maybe he needs one too. Caleb's hand shook as he reached for his own phone. But my phone was the one connected to the system. I swiped accept and put it on speaker. Joshua. Sterling's voice boomed through the expensive surround sound speakers Caleb had installed. Joshua, are you there? I've been trying to reach you all afternoon. The board is in a panic. My parents looked at the speakers, then at me, then back at the speakers. Their world was tilting on its axis. The voice of the CEO, the man Caleb spoke of like a deity, was calling their useless son by his first name, and he sounded scared. I'm here, Warren, I said, leaning back against the sideboard. I'm having dinner with one of your employees, Caleb Miller. You know him? There was a pause on the line, a long, uncomfortable pause. Caleb Miller. Sterling hesitated. Regional supply chain? Yes. Is everything all right? I know he's your brother, Joshua, but looking at these audit reports you sent over, it's not good. No, it's not, I said, keeping my eyes locked on Caleb. Caleb was shaking his head frantically, mouthing the word no. Warren. Caleb just offered me a job in facilities maintenance. Apparently, he thinks I have a knack for cleaning up messes. I don't understand, Sterling stammered. It's irony, Warren, I said, because I'm looking at the Rapid Route invoices right now. How long has he been skimming off the logistics budget? 2 years? 3. We estimate 3 years, Sterling said. His voice was professional now, cold. We're talking about $300,000 in fraudulent markups. Joshua, we were going to bring legal into this on Monday, but since your family, treat him like any other employee who stole from the company. I cut in. Joshua, my mother screamed. She grabbed my arm. Stop it. You're ruining his life. Tell him it's a mistake. I shook her off. I didn't steal the money, Mom. He did. Remember? Financial irresponsibility is not our problem to solve. I turned back to the phone. Warren, I want Caleb removed from the building. Revoke his security clearance immediately and freeze his severance. We'll let the forensic accountants decide if we press charges. Understood, sir, Sterling said. I'll notify HR and security. Is there anything else? Yes. The promotion he was bragging about? Cancel it. And Warren? Yes, Joshua? Prepare the boardroom for 8 a.m. tomorrow. I'm coming in to restructure the entire executive team. If you knew he was stealing and didn't stop it, you might want to update your resume too. I had suspicions, but 8 a.m. Warren. I hung up. The silence returned, but this time it was heavy, suffocating. It was the sound of an empire collapsing. Caleb slumped into his chair. He put his head in his hands. Elena was sobbing quietly. You bastard, Caleb whispered. You planned this. You waited until tonight to humiliate me. I didn't plan anything, Caleb, I said. I was going to wait. I was going to give you a chance to come clean, maybe let you resign with dignity in a few months. I was going to protect you, because despite everything, you're my brother. I picked up the janitor application from the table and held it up. But then you gave me this. You wanted to shame me in front of my daughter. You wanted to make yourself feel big by making me look small. You did this to yourself. He has children, Joshua, my father yelled. He has a mortgage. How is he going to pay for this house? For Braden's school. Maybe he can get a job as a janitor, I suggested. I hear Apex is hiring. Benefits are great. Dental is included. You are heartless, my mother cried. We are your family. How can you destroy us like this? Destroy you? I laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. Mom, you watched me drown for 8 years. You watched your granddaughter wear thrift store clothes and never once offered to buy her a warm coat. You called me useless an hour ago. You don't care about me. You only care about the money. Well, now I have the money. Does that mean you love me now? She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The truth was written all over her face. Yes, if they had known, they would have loved me. And that was the tragedy. The atmosphere in the room was toxic. I needed to get out. I needed fresh air. Come on, Lily, I said, extending my hand to my daughter. We're leaving. Lily stood up. She looked at her grandparents, then at her Uncle Caleb, who was now weeping softly into the tablecloth. She didn't say goodbye. She just took my hand. Wait. Caleb stood up, stumbling. Josh, please. Don't do this. I'll apologize. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry I was a jerk. Just don't fire me. Please. I have debts. The car, the house. I'm leveraged to the hilt. You should have thought about that before you stole from my company. I said. Dad, do something. Caleb screamed at our father. Robert stood in front of me, blocking the exit to the dining room. You are not leaving until you fix this. You will call this Sterling man back and tell him to reinstate your brother. Move, Dad, I warned. Or what? You'll hit me? No, I said. I'll just buy the bank that holds your mortgage and foreclose on this house too. It was a bluff mostly, but fear flashed in his eyes. He stepped aside. We walked to the front door. The entire family followed us, a pathetic procession of regret. As I opened the front door, light flooded the entryway. But it wasn't the street lights. It was the high-intensity LED headlights of a car parked right in front of the driveway, blocking Caleb's BMW. It wasn't my Honda. It was a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Black, sleek, massive. The spirit of ecstasy ornament on the hood gleamed in the night. My parents stopped dead in the doorway. Caleb wiped his eyes and squinted. Whose car is that? Elena whispered. The driver's door opened. A man in an immaculate suit stepped out. It was Jonathan, my head of security and personal driver. He wasn't just a driver. He was an ex-Navy SEAL who had been with me since the early days of Titanium. He walked up the driveway, ignoring my family, and stopped in front of me. He nodded respectfully. "Good evening, Mr. Miller," Jonathan said deeply. "Adrian sent me. He thought the Honda might be unreliable for the ride home. And the jet is fueled and ready for the Dubai meeting tomorrow." "The jet?" my mother whispered. "You have a jet?" "Thanks, Jonathan," I said. "The Honda is parked down the street. Have someone pick it up and donate it to charity." "Consider it done, sir," Jonathan said. He walked over to the rear passenger door of the Rolls-Royce and opened it with a white-gloved hand. I looked back at my family one last time. They were huddled on the porch, bathed in the glow of the porch light and the headlights of a $500,000 car. They looked small. They looked ordinary. "Joshua?" My mother stepped forward, her voice trembling with a sickly sweet tone I hadn't heard in decades. "Joshua, baby, please, don't leave like this. We can talk. We can work this out. We're a family. We can help you manage all this responsibility." "Manage?" I chuckled. "Mom, I've managed a global logistics empire while raising a daughter alone for 8 years. I think I'm good." "But we missed you," she cried, tears streaming down her face. Tears for the lost access to wealth, not for me. "We want to be part of Lily's life. She needs her grandmother." I looked down at Lily. "Do you want to stay, Lil?" Lily looked at the woman who had slapped her hand an hour ago. She looked at the uncle who had called her father a loser. "No, Dad," she said firmly. "I want to go home." "You heard her," I said. "Joshua, please." Caleb ran down the steps, grabbing my sleeve. "I'll do anything. I'll work as the janitor. I swear. Just don't cut me off. Don't let me lose everything." I pulled my arm away. "You have a resume, Caleb?" I said coldly. "Submit it online. We'll keep it on file." I guided Lily into the plush leather back seat of the Rolls-Royce. The interior smelled of expensive leather and peace. I climbed in beside her. Jonathan closed the door. The sound was a solid, heavy thud that shut out the world. Through the tinted glass, I saw my parents and Caleb screaming, banging on the air, mouthing words I couldn't hear and didn't want to hear. "To the airport, sir?" Jonathan asked from the front seat. "No, Jonathan," I said, putting my arm around my daughter. "Take us to get some ice cream. Then home." "Very good, sir." As the car glided away, smooth as silk, I watched my childhood home disappear in the rearview mirror. I saw my father slump against the doorframe. I saw my mother crying into her hands. I saw Caleb kicking the tire of his leased BMW. And for the first time in 36 years, I felt absolutely nothing for them. No anger, no sadness, just a profound, quiet relief. This is the moment that changed everything, when I finally took back control of my life. Thank you for being patient and sticking with me this far. You guys are amazing. Please help me out by liking this video and commenting the number 1 below so I know you're riding with me. It not only helps more people find this story, but it tells me that my experience actually means something to you. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to share the rest of this journey. The inside of a Rolls-Royce is quieter than a library. It's designed that way to insulate you from the noise of the outside world. As we pulled away from the curb, Lily leaned her head on my shoulder. "Dad?" she asked softly. "Yeah, honey? Are we really rich?" I sighed. I had wanted to tell her differently. Maybe when she was 18. Maybe slowly. Not like this. "Yes, Lily. We are." "Like, buy a pony rich?" she asked, a small smile playing on her lips. "Like buy the stable rich," I admitted. "But listen to me." I turned to face her. "This changes nothing about who we are. We are still the same team. We still value hard work. We still treat people with respect. Money is just a tool, Lily. It's not who you are. Do you understand? Look at your Uncle Caleb. He thought money made him better than everyone. And look where he is now." "He's crying on the porch," Lily said. "Exactly. Never be like that." "I won't," she promised. Then she paused. "But can we get a new house?" The apartment has weird bugs. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh that released the tension in my chest. Yes, we can get a new house. No bugs allowed. My phone started blowing up. Text messages. Calls. Mom, Joshua, please answer. We love you. Dad, you can't do this to your brother. It's unchristian. Caleb, Josh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please call Sterling back. Elena is going to leave me. Elena. Hey Josh. Just wanted to say I always knew you were special. Ignore Caleb, he's an idiot. Let's grab lunch. I read them out loud to Lily. We laughed at the audacity. Elena trying to switch sides 5 minutes after calling me a loser was the cherry on top. What are you going to do? Lily asked. I'm going to do what I should have done 8 years ago, I said. I opened my phone settings. I went to contacts. I selected Mom. Block contact. I selected Dad. Block contact. I selected Caleb. Block contact. I selected Elena. Block contact. Jonathan, I said to the front. Yes, sir. I need you to change my number tomorrow and hire a private security detail for Lily's school. I don't want any relatives trying to pick her up. Already arranged, sir. 2 agents will be stationed at the school starting Monday morning. We stopped at a Dairy Queen. It was absurd, a $500,000 car in the drive-thru of a Dairy Queen. People were staring, taking pictures. I didn't care. I bought Lily a large Blizzard with extra Oreos. I got one for myself. We sat in the parking lot, eating ice cream in the back of the most luxurious car in the world, watching the traffic go by. Dad. Yeah. Did you really buy Uncle Caleb's company? I did. Are you really going to fire him? I thought about it. I thought about the mercy my mother talked about. I thought about family. Then I thought about the janitor application. I thought about the way he made Lily cry. I'm not just going to fire him, Lily, I said. I'm going to make sure he understands what it feels like to be powerless. The next morning, the sun rose, but for Caleb, it was the beginning of a long, dark winter. I arrived at Apex Parts at 7:45 a.m. I wasn't wearing my flannel. I was wearing a bespoke Tom Ford suit. I walked through the lobby. The security guards, who had been briefed, snapped to attention. Good morning, Mr. Miller, they said. I took the elevator to the top floor, the executive suite. Sterling was waiting for me in the boardroom. He looked like he hadn't slept. The entire executive team was there, looking terrified. Gentlemen, I said, taking the seat at the head of the table. Let's get to work. At 9 a.m., Caleb's keycard didn't work. At 9:05 a.m., security escorted him to his desk with a cardboard box. At 9:15 a.m., the entire floor watched as he packed his personal belongings. He tried to make a scene. He screamed that his brother owned the company. Yes, he does, the security guard. A man Caleb had likely ignored for 10 years, said calmly. And his strict orders were that you are trespassing. You have 5 minutes. I watched it all on the security feed from my office. It wasn't joy I felt. It was justice. I picked up the phone and called my lawyer, Mason. Mason, initiate the foreclosure proceedings on the properties linked to the Miller family trust. If they missed a single payment, take the house. Joshua, Mason warned, that's aggressive. That's your parents' home. They told me to ask the state for help, I said, spinning in my leather chair. I'm sure the state has housing programs for people like them. I hung up. The cord was cut. The bridge was burned. And as I looked out over the city skyline, I finally felt free. Time is a funny thing. When you're suffering, a single day feels like a decade. But when you're finally free, when you're winning, a year blinks by in a heartbeat. It has been exactly 12 months since I walked out of my parents' house and left them standing in the exhaust fumes of my Rolls-Royce. 12 months since I bought Apex Parts and fired my own brother. And let me tell you, a lot can change in a year. I was standing on the balcony of my new penthouse in downtown Chicago. The wind off the lake was cold, but I didn't feel it. I was wearing a cashmere sweater that cost more than my old Honda Civic. Behind me, the floor-to-ceiling glass doors were open, letting in the sounds of a party. It was Lily's 13th birthday. But it wasn't just a birthday, it was a coronation. Inside, Lily was laughing. She was surrounded by friends, real friends, not the children of my parents' country club associates who used to look down on her. She was wearing a dress she picked out herself, looking confident, happy, and light. That heaviness she used to carry, the shame of being the poor cousin, it was gone, vaporized. Adrian, my assistant and former Amazon VP, walked onto the balcony holding a tablet. "Sorry to interrupt the party, boss," Adrian said, handing me a glass of aged bourbon. "But Mason just sent over the final dossier you asked for. The 1-year review, as he calls it." I took the drink. "Is it done?" "It's done," Adrian nodded. "Do you want to hear the highlights? Or do you want to read the grim details yourself?" "Read it to me," I said, looking out at the city lights. "I want to hear it out loud. This brings us to the karma. You see, when I cut my family off, I didn't just stop giving them money. I stopped giving them my silence. I stopped protecting them from the consequences of their own stupidity." "Let's start with Caleb," Adrian said, scrolling down. "After security escorted him out of Apex Parts that morning, he tried to play the victim. He went to 3 different competitors looking for a director-level position. He walked in cocky, thinking his experience at Apex made him a hot commodity. And I took a sip. And nobody would touch him," Adrian smirked. "Word travels fast in logistics. They knew he was fired for financial irregularities. You didn't even have to sue him, Joshua. The industry blacklisted him. He's radioactive." I remembered the look on Caleb's face when he handed me that janitor application. "Get a steady job," he had said. "So, where is he working?" I asked. "Well, after 6 months of unemployment, the bills started piling up. The lease on the BMW was terminated. The bank repossessed it. He's currently working as a shift supervisor at a big-box hardware store in the suburbs. He makes $22 an hour." I let out a short, dark laugh. $4 more than the janitor job he offered me. Good for him. "It gets worse," Adrian continued. "Elena filed for divorce 3 months ago. Turns out her love for Caleb was directly tied to his paycheck. She took full custody of Braden. She cited financial instability and emotional volatility in the court papers. Caleb is living in a studio apartment above a garage. He sees his son every other weekend, if he can afford the gas money." I felt a twinge in my chest. Not regret. Pity. It was pathetic. Caleb had built his entire identity on being the golden boy, the success story. Strip away the money, and he was nothing. A hollow shell of a man stocking shelves and eating frozen dinners alone. "And the parents?" I asked. This was the part one was dreading, but also the part one needed to know. Adrian swiped to the next page. His face grew serious. "Your intuition was right, Joshua. They weren't just helping Caleb with down payments. They were fully funding his lifestyle. They had refinanced their house 3 times in the last 5 years to pay off Caleb's gambling debts and Elena's credit cards. They were drowning in debt, pretending to be rich. I knew it," I whispered. "That's why they hated me. I was the mirror showing them their own failure." "The foreclosure finalized yesterday," Adrian said softly. "The bank took the house. The furniture, the china, the table where they mocked you, all auctioned off to pay creditors." I closed my eyes. That house. The house where I grew up. The house where I was told I was useless. Gone. Where are they? They moved into a 1-bedroom rental in a senior living community. It's modest. Mason says your father tried to apply for a loan last week, using your name as a reference. The bank flagged it immediately and denied it. Good. There's one more thing. Adrian hesitated. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a crumpled envelope. This arrived at headquarters this morning. It bypassed the mailroom screening because it was marked personal urgent. It's from your mother. I took the envelope. It smelled like her perfume, a scent that used to mean safety, but now just smelled like manipulation. The handwriting was shaky. I tore it open. "My dearest Joshua, I don't know if you'll read this. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. We were wrong. We were so wrong. Your father isn't doing well. The stress of the move. His heart isn't what it used to be. We miss you. We miss Lily. I saw a picture of her in the newspaper at that charity gala you hosted. She looks so beautiful. She looks like you. Joshua, please. We are old. We have lost everything. Caleb won't talk to us because he blames us for not fixing things with you. We are all alone. We don't need money, though God knows we are struggling. We just want our son back. We want to be a family again. Can you find it in your heart to forgive us? Just one coffee? Just one visit? Love always, Mom. I read it twice. The words blurred slightly. Do you want to reply? Adrian asked gently. Mason can draft a response. Or we can send a small stipend. Enough to cover their rent. I looked at the letter. Then I looked inside the apartment. Lily was blowing out the candles on a massive cake. She was surrounded by people who loved her for who she was, not what she could give them. She was safe. She was happy. I remembered the dinner. I remembered my mother laughing when Caleb called me a loser. I remembered her saying, "Financial irresponsibility is not our problem to solve." They didn't want me. They wanted the safety net I could provide. They wanted the status of being the parents of the billionaire Joshua Miller, not the parents of Joshua the struggling widower. No, I said. I took a silver lighter from the table, a gift from a business partner in Dubai. I flicked it open. The flame danced in the wind. I held the corner of the letter to the flame. Joshua. Adrian watched me. Are you sure? I'm sure, I said. We watched the paper curl and blacken. The words love always turned into ash and floated away over the Chicago skyline. If I let them back in, Adrian, I bring the poison back in. They made their choice 8 years ago when my wife died. They made their choice again at that dinner table. Consequences don't have an expiration date just because you're sad. I dropped the burning remnants into an ashtray and dusted off my hands. Tell Mason to ensure the foreclosure goes through smoothly. Don't intervene. And tell security that if they show up at the building or at Lily's school, they are to be treated as strangers. Understood, Adrian said. He looked at me with a new level of respect. You're a tough son of a bitch, Joshua. I had to be, I said. They trained me well. I walked back inside, sliding the glass door shut. The noise of the city and the ghosts of my past were locked out. Inside, there was only warmth, music, and the future. I walked over to Lily. She handed me a slice of cake, grinning. Who was that on the balcony, Dad? She asked. Just business, sweetheart. I kissed her forehead. Old business. It's finished now. Good, she said. Come dance with me. You promised. And as I danced with my daughter in a room filled with light, I realized something profound. I wasn't just rich in money. I was rich in peace. And that was something Caleb and my parents would never, ever have. You know, people often ask me, Joshua, don't you feel guilty? They see the headlines. Logistics tycoon estranged from destitute family. They see the paparazzi photos of my parents looking frail, or Caleb scanning groceries. And they judge. They think, he has billions. Why can't he just write them a check? Why can't he just be the bigger man? I used to ask myself that too. In the quiet moments of the night, guilt would try to creep in. It's hard to unprogram 30 years of conditioning. It's hard to stop wanting your mother's love. But then I look at the facts. I didn't ruin Caleb's life. He ruined it by stealing, by being arrogant, by treating people like dirt. I didn't ruin my parents' retirement. They ruined it by funding a lie, by betting on the wrong horse, by valuing appearances over substance. I simply stopped catching them when they fell. 3 years have passed since that dinner. Titanium Logistics is now the largest supply chain firm in North America. I cover magazines. I speak at conferences. But my favorite job is still being a dad. Lily is 15 now. She's brilliant. She's kind. And most importantly, she takes no nonsense from anyone. Last week, we were driving past a park in the new Lamborghini because why not? And we saw a man yelling at a waiter at an outdoor cafe. The The man was red-faced, entitled, demanding special treatment. Lily watched him for a second, then shook her head. "He acts just like Uncle Caleb used to," she said. "He does," I agreed. "I feel sorry for him," she said. "Why?" I asked, surprised. "Because he thinks being loud makes him important," she said. "He doesn't know that real power is quiet." I smiled. That was it. That was the victory. My daughter had learned the lesson that took me 30 years to figure out. I pulled the car over. I turned to her. "Lily," I said, "I want you to remember something. We have money now. We have a lot of it. But if tomorrow all of this disappeared, if the cars, the houses, the company all vanished, would we still be okay?" She looked at me, confused for a second. Then she smiled. "Yeah, Dad, we were okay in the Honda. We'd be okay again." "Exactly, because we have each other, and we have our self-respect. Nobody can take that from you unless you hand it to them." I started the engine again. The engine roared, a sound of pure power. We haven't seen my family in 3 years. I heard through the grapevine that Caleb moved to another state, trying to outrun his reputation. My parents are still in that small apartment. I set up a small, anonymous trust that pays for their medical insurance because I'm not a monster, but they will never know it came from me. They think it's a government program. The irony is sweet. I finally stopped waiting for their apology. I realized that an apology from them would be a transaction, not a realization. They would apologize to get access to the bank account, not to my heart. And I don't need false love. I have the real thing. I have a team of employees who respect me because I treat them well. I have friends who knew me when I was broke and stuck by me. I have a daughter who looks at me with pride. I am the architect of my own life now. I built it from the ashes of their rejection. Every brick was laid with hard work. Every window was polished with resilience. And the foundation is the truth. The truth is, sometimes you have to lose your family to find yourself. The truth is, no is a complete sentence. The truth is, you are not defined by the people who couldn't love you. You are defined by how you love yourself. As we drove off into the sunset, cliché, I know, but it really was a beautiful sunset, I felt a sense of completion. The story of the boy who was useless was over. The story of the man who is unstoppable had just begun. Wow. Just telling that story again brings up so many emotions. My hands are actually shaking a little bit. It's been a long journey from that dinner table to where I am now, and I want to take a moment to unpack what we just experienced together. This story isn't just about money, or revenge, or fancy cars. It's about boundaries. The biggest lesson I learned, and the lesson I hope you take away today, is that toxic loyalty is a trap. We are taught that family is everything, that blood is thicker than water. But what happens when the blood is poisoned? What happens when the people who are supposed to be your safe harbor are actually the storm? I spent years setting myself on fire just to keep my family warm, and they complained that I wasn't burning bright enough. Many of you watching this might be in a similar situation. Maybe it's not a billionaire brother, but maybe it's a friend who drains you, a partner who belittles you, or a parent who makes you feel small. Here is the truth I want you to write down. You do not owe anyone a relationship. Access to your life is a privilege, not a right. It doesn't matter if they share your DNA. If someone consistently disrespects you, violates your boundaries, and makes you feel worthless, you have the right to close the door. And notice what happened when I finally closed that door? My life didn't fall apart. It expanded. When you remove the people who are weighing you down, you suddenly have the energy to fly. It wasn't easy. You saw the guilt I felt in part 7. You saw the manipulation in that letter. But standing firm, choosing my peace and my daughter's well-being over their ego, was the most loving thing I could do for myself. So, I have a question for you. I really want to hear your thoughts on this because I know this is a heavy topic. What is the janitor application in your life? Is there a situation or a person right now that is handing you a mop bucket, treating you like you're less than you are, and you're just accepting it to keep the peace? Let me know in the comments. Or, if you've ever had to make the hard choice to cut someone off to save yourself, tell me, Was it worth it? I read every single comment. If the story resonated with you, if you felt that satisfaction when Joshua finally stood up for himself, please do me a favor. Type the word good in the comments below. Typing good tells me that you value self-respect. It tells me that you support the idea that we are the architects of our own worth. And honestly, seeing those good comments reminds me why I share these stories. To remind you that you are powerful, you are worthy, and you are never, ever useless. Thank you for listening. Thank you for riding in the Rolls-Royce with me today. Until next time, keep building your empire, whatever that looks like for you.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for new content.